shit. It makes me feel...
Do your head. I have to.
The movie begins in Zurich, Switzerland, on August 17, 1904. Sabine Spielrein, a Russian Jewish woman experiencing severe hysteria, is admitted to a psychiatric hospital. She soon encounters Carl Gustav Jung, a young psychiatrist inspired by the theories of Sigmund Freud. Fascinated by Freud's methods, Jung is eager to apply Freud's approach of talk therapy, where the doctor engages the patient in candid, open-ended conversations. During their initial session, Sabine admits to feeling unable to control her body, haunted by memories of her father's abusive behavior. In a disturbing dream, she envisions her father's hand, a symbol of the trauma she endured. Jung shares his observations about his intriguing new patient with his wife, Emma, though her main focus remains on expanding their family, hoping to bear a son. At Sabine's next session, she describes unsettling dreams and odd coincidences in her life. Although Jung is somewhat open to mystical ideas, he initially meets these revelations with skepticism. When Sabine lets her cloak fall during a session, Jung instinctively reaches to help her, but finds her unexpectedly frightened by his action. Not long after, Jung leaves for a professional trip, and Sabine's behavior grows erratic, as if she is yearning for his return. She becomes restless, playing with her food and covering herself in mud to capture the attention of the hospital staff. Eventually, the staff intervenes, giving her a calming bath to settle her. Upon his return, Jung proposes a more structured working relationship with Sabine. For one psychological test, he enlists his wife, Emma, to assist him by answering association questions. Sabine's impressive insight reveals her keen interest and natural skill in psychology. She even discerns Emma's identity as Jung's wife based on subtle clues, hinting at her perceptiveness. Soon after, Emma gives birth to a daughter and apologizes to Jung for not providing a male heir. Although she is wealthy and has afforded Jung a stable life, Emma is conscious of her inability to fulfill his desire for a son. As their sessions continue, Sabine opens up about her deepest traumas, recounting dreams filled with enigmatic figures and admitting her complex emotions about physical punishment. She reveals that, from an early age, punishment had evoked conflicting feelings, bringing both pain and an unsettling sense of pleasure. 2 years later, Jung travels to Vienna to meet Freud in person. Eager to discuss Sabine's case, he seeks guidance from the renowned psychoanalyst. Freud, however, views most cases through a lens focused on sexual motivations, which Jung finds limiting. Jung believes that human emotions are driven by a broader array of forces, including fear, anger, and more abstract desires. One evening, Jung shares his own dreams and secrets with Freud, who promptly interprets them through the lens of sexuality. Freud insists that his interpretation is the only valid perspective, leaving Jung unconvinced. Jung returns home, where he finds an intellectual ally in Sabine, now his former patient and a budding psychology student with a promising future. Their rapport deepens, as she, too, questions the validity of reducing all psychological issues to a single cause. She recounts a dream that oddly echoes Jung's experiences, reinforcing his belief in a mystical interconnectedness underlying the human psyche. Not long after, Freud asks Jung to oversee the treatment of his first student, Otto Gross, a brilliant but troubled man with a reputation for indulgence. Otto's perspective on life is steeped in hedonism, with an unrestrained focus on pleasure and numerous relationships. Otto's influence further challenges Jung's commitment to professional ethics, as he suggests Jung pursue a more intimate relationship with Sabine, insisting life should be enjoyed freely. In their next session, Sabine expresses her doubts about her abilities as a psychologist and impulsively kisses Jung, inviting him to visit her whenever he wishes to deepen their connection. This moment of vulnerability stirs a conflict within Jung, who consults with Otto, seeking clarity on whether he should cross ethical boundaries. Otto, unburdened by convention, advocates embracing desire over restraint. Soon after, Otto is discharged from the hospital, absconding with a ladder in a final act of defiance. Taking Otto's advice to heart, Jung visits Sabine, who reveals her unique preferences, adding an unconventional dynamic to their relationship. The years pass, and the Jung family moves into a new house by the lake. Emma, devoted to keeping their family together, gifts Jung a yacht with red sails. Although she suspects he has a mistress, she is prepared to tolerate his infidelity for the sake of their marriage. This loyalty impacts Jung, leading him to decide to end his affair with Sabine. However, Sabine, desperate to maintain a connection, consents to whatever terms he wishes, even if it means enduring harsh treatment, showing her willingness to remain close in any capacity. Later, Jung and Freud reunite to discuss their diverging ideas in psychology. Freud insists that psychological problems are rooted in sexual experiences and how they are processed, while Jung leans toward a more expansive view that includes subconscious patterns and mysticism. He suggests that coincidences may be subtle signs woven into the fabric of the unconscious mind. As he increasingly values dreams, intuition, and the symbolic mysteries of the psyche, Jung's perspective marks a significant departure from Freud's theories, signaling the beginning of a new approach to understanding the mind. As Jung and Freud's professional tension grows, their contrasting views threaten their collaboration. Freud, wary of risking his reputation, is cautious with innovative theories, preferring to keep his hypotheses grounded. Jung, frustrated with Freud's conservatism, takes out his anger on Sabina, who remains eager to comply with his needs. The two doctors attempt to reconcile when they agree on a shared diagnosis for a patient. However, during a yacht outing, Freud reveals he has received a letter implicating Jung in an inappropriate relationship with a patient. Jung, alarmed, denies the accusation and ends his relationship with Sabina to avoid further scandal. A few days later, Jung discovers that it was his own wife, Emma, who anonymously sent the letters to Freud and Sabina's family, hoping to keep him closer. Soon after, Sabina returns to Jung, now a budding psychotherapist herself, but needing help once more, as her parents, still wary of her stability, demand she continue therapy. Although Sabina pays for her session, she begins sending letters to Freud, informing him of her ongoing connection with Jung. Uninterested in mediating Jung's personal affairs, Freud directs her to resolve this privately, leading to an icy response that forces Sabina to confront the finality of her bond with Jung. In a desperate attempt for closure, Sabina pleads with Jung to write to Freud, clarifying her wish to be considered his patient only. Meanwhile, Jung and Freud journey to America to promote their field. During the trip, Jung opens up about his unusual dreams, but Freud refuses to reciprocate, protective of his own secrets. This unwillingness drives a deeper rift between them, with Jung's respect for Freud diminishing as he realizes they are on fundamentally different paths in psychology. By 1910, Sabina graduates, now an accomplished psychologist herself, critical of Freud's theory, which she finds incomplete and somewhat contradictory. She champions a more nuanced perspective on human relationships, advocating for their creative, transformative potential, rather than viewing them solely through Freud's narrow psychological lens. Jung, intrigued by her ideas, sees her as an intellectual equal. Sabina later separates from her husband and returns to Austria, where, in 1912, she confronts Freud directly, challenging his views and undermining his authority. Jung follows, criticizing Freud's theories as well, a confrontation that deeply wounds Freud's pride. Soon after, Freud and Jung continue their bitter exchange through letters, each defending vastly different philosophies of psychology. A year later, Sabina, now pregnant, visits Jung and his wife at their home. Though Jung is pleased for Sabina, he also feels a bittersweet longing, knowing the child she carries is not his. Despite their complicated history, he admits that Sabina was his true love. During this visit, he shares an ominous dream of a bloody avalanche engulfing Europe, though Sabina, unsure of its meaning, senses it may have mystical significance. Shortly afterward, Sabina returns to Russia, and in 1914, Jung's premonition materializes as World War I devastates Europe. As the years pass, Otto Gross succumbs to starvation in Berlin, and in 1939, Freud, forced into exile by the Nazis, dies of cancer in London. Sabina, having returned to her homeland, meets a tragic fate in 1941 when she is executed as a Jew by the Nazis. Jung, in contrast, lives a long life, eventually becoming one of the world's foremost psychologists, passing away in 1961, his legacy forever shaping modern psychology. That concludes this story. Thank you for watching until end. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe and like for more recaps.